Heather Vale.
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
And joining us is Stephanie Mulac, an online entrepreneur, speaker, and coach. Thank you for being here, Stephanie.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So today we're going to be talking about life balance, and this is a really important topic because people just tend to get so stressed out, and they either focus too much on work or they focus too much on something other than work, and they end up not getting that balance that allows us to go through life not being stressed out. So what do you think is the key to finding that balance in life?
Well, the key is to initially at least acknowledge and realize all of the aspects in your life that do require being brought into balance. I talk about balancing fear, faith, family, friends, and finances.
Nice.
And of those 5 F's, if any one of those areas is out of balance, and doing a self-assessment and kind of just taking a look at, when you very quickly hear those 5 words, you're going to have a level of comfort perhaps when you hear the word friends or family. But then it may strike fear into your heart when you hear fear, because there's something that is so big that it is something that is scaring you to be able to pursue, or something about your future, that type of thing. So it's those aspects. Generally the average person is able to listen to those, and just by their gut instinct to get some idea of which one does not seem congruent with all of the other ones. Could be 2, could be 1 or more that kind of cross over into one another. But regardless of where you stand on it, it's something that one of those areas, chances are, there's a little bit of a struggle or a little bit level of discomfort, and that's what bears looking into further.
Okay. So basically just go through the words and then listen to the gut reaction, is that what you're saying?
Yes, and just see, if you hear the word family and you go, oh no. Well, that might be an area you want to look into. Or if you get up in the morning and your first thought goes to not having enough money to pay a bill, obviously that's something that you want to tune into and take a look at stronger. So you're going to start to get a feel very quickly when you force yourself to take a look at those aspects and determine if one or more of those aspects are really something that you feel like you're having a struggle with.
I've heard a lot of people, when they have a system like this, they think of it as a wheel with spokes, and if one of the spokes is missing or weak, the wheel's not round anymore, it's not going to roll properly. Do you look at it that way?
Absolutely, because to achieve this balance in life, oftentimes you will see situations where someone will say, oh, they have everything, they are always surrounded by friends, and they have this wonderful social circle, and they never have to worry about paying the next bill, or they never have to worry where money is coming from or anything like that. But then you get to know that person, and you get beyond what you may see from the external circumstances, and find out that they have perhaps a family member that they're really at odds with, or something that is creating some type of a stress in their life. And what happens there is that when that's the situation, there's always something that's kind of like this little niggling thing in the back of your head that no matter how at ease you are and how you are out in social situations, and you're very comfortable in your job or your position in life and that type of thing, there's always that underlying element that is creating that disruption in the whole. And exactly like a wheel that is not spinning round, you're going to have that bump every time it comes full circle, and that is when you start to feel some incongruence in what you're doing, what you're feeling, and achieving the goals that you're setting for yourself in whatever aspect of life.
Yeah. So let's say, for instance, let's take finance as the example, because that's something that probably 99% of people do struggle with. It's something that brings anxiety and stress. So let's say someone realizes that finance is the area where they need to work on, they need to balance that out better with the rest of their life. What are the next steps? Once the awareness is there, what do they do with it?
Well, it really depends on what it is that they want to accomplish. If they're having financial struggles and it's job related and they're interested in finding another job, then they're going to have to look along those lines. If it's something that they already have a huge amount of debt due to something that's going on, they may have to do some work and take a look at all of that. If they feel that this has been an ongoing problem throughout the course of their life and that it always seems to come back around to finances, perhaps they want to go a little bit deeper and they want to start to do some actual mindset work or do some meditation or hypnosis on principles surrounding wealth and abundance to be able to break through what are perhaps maybe some limiting beliefs or negative patterns that they have or that were established from childhood and things like that, that they may need to work on it at that level as opposed to the level of, say, maybe seeking employment and changing a job or maybe going out and getting some additional education to be able to get a promotion at work or something like that.
Do you have any audios like that, Steve?
I think I may.
And I highly recommend them.
Well, thank you. So I like this idea that, the thing that comes up for me is some people might be hearing this and they might say, well, that's a lot of pressure. I've got to, worry about these F's all the time. If one gets, you might think about another F, worry about it. So how do you balance that out? How do you do it without stressing about it?
Well, I think what happens is that, just as we have looked at it here as a light approach, that you have to be at ease with it, and you have to acknowledge that chances are anyone you meet is having some struggle in one aspect of these things, that you are not the only one in this life that is running on a crooked wheel, that you literally everybody has that one thing that always has presented a challenge for them, and take a look at it from the standpoint of, number one, being grateful for the other aspects of your life that are in fact in balance, but then also saying, okay, I have one or two things to work on here, so let's turn it into something exciting, because as soon as I accomplish this and I do some work on this and bring this up to the same level as all of these other things, what a great life it's going to be, because now I will be living in balance and I will be able to accomplish things with more ease and more gratitude and be able to just have things flow. So looking at it as a challenge and something that you've already mastered several of these other areas, so you only have a few more to go and you only have some minor tweaks to do to be able to bring it all up into balance and be able to pursue it from there.
Well, often what happens with people is they take kind of a compulsive approach. So they'll say, okay, finance is lacking. Everything else is pretty cool. Finance is down here. Let's bring it up. And then they focus so much on the finance and fixing the finance, then something else suffers. Maybe family suffers or something else. So then they're out of whack again. It's just a different out of whack. So how do they avoid that?
Or they start working 80-hour work weeks, and all of a sudden their husband or wife leaves them, and family suddenly becomes out of balance.
Exactly, yeah.
It's when you approach it from the standpoint that you have acknowledged that what your goal is to be able to bring these all equally into balance, that one is not a sacrifice of the other. That yes, you may need to work on your finances and you may need to be able to spend a little bit more time at work in order to maybe make a positive impact and a change in the amount of income that you're taking in, but not make it so much that that income is the do-all be-all to say, okay, additional income, spending more time at work is going to start to alleviate this financial pressure, but you know what? I'm not going to take every penny of that new raise or every penny of that income and put it toward paying off bills. I'm going to set aside a little bit each time, and I'm going to take my husband or my wife to dinner. And utilize that progress that you're making on your finances to reinforce and support one of these other areas of balance. You know, maybe get together with your friends once a month and do something special, or do something like that, so that even the progress that you're making in this one area is not devoid of having a crossover with that progress, and funneling some of that success as you're making progress in that one area, funneling some of that success over into these other areas of your life, so that everything benefits.
Okay.
Very, again, I've said this about you before, very zen, very spiritual way of looking at things. Is this really, you know, when a situation comes up for you, do you, I picture, it seems like you don't ever freak out about anything. It seems like you have a logical way of dealing with everything.
She must freak out sometime. We should ask her family.
We're going to interview them next. Do you have your moments of, where you freak out, and if so, how do you deal with that?
Trying to remember if I've had a moment of freaking out.
And if you don't, which is fine too, how do you not? How do you avoid it?
Meditation and
I listen to
hypnosis.
Steve G. Jones.
Excellent.
I think,
By the way, he did not hypnotize her.
That's right.
at least not that I'm aware of.
True.
I think typically, I have been doing this for so long, and it's become such a way of life. And I think one of the things in being a parent and having children was when it really started to become enforced more, because the last thing that you want to do when you have children and you're raising children is if something bad happens, you really don't want to sit there and go, because that really starts to instill a level of fear in your own children.
Yeah.
So, you know, if things are going on, and, you know, even if we're in a situation, let's say we're in a store and somebody's getting somewhat unruly or rowdy or something like that, you know, instead of freaking out, you know, just very calmly going, okay, I think we're done here, why don't we go ahead and stroll to the next store, or something along those lines.
Wow.
You know, that I think, you know, probably became enforced or reinforced in me more after having become a parent. But even prior to that, I think a lot of it really comes down to the fact that when you are faced with that knee-jerk situation, knee-jerk reaction to a situation that has happened, once it has happened, you're already somewhat powerless of going backward in time and undoing what has happened. So it's just a total belief and faith in the fact that it's happened. Freaking out is not going to change that it happened. And
it might make it worse.
and indeed, in many instances, it's always going to make it worse. I'm still struggling to sit here and think about whether or not I can think of a time that I have freaked out. And literally nothing really comes to mind.
Wow.
Huh.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that is amazing, because most people don't have that. You know, they don't have that ability to just make it a cognitive process.
You seem like you don't freak out a lot.
I really don't. I am that. I just want to make it more relatable, though, because I'm a lot like you in that regard. That I can't remember when the last time I freaked out was, because I believe there's a logical solution for everything. If something happens, there's a way to deal with it.
Here, by the way.
Yeah. So I think that way. I just know that a lot of people don't think that way. I see a lot of people who freak out about everything. Every little thing is something that causes them stress. And so I just wanted to make it more relatable, maybe give some takeaways, but apparently neither of us are qualified to. Heather, do you know anything about freaking out?
I do.
Concept we've heard of? And what do you do when you freak out?
See, I only freak out in certain areas of life, and back to the balance. Parenting, I don't freak out. However, in relationships, I've been known to freak out. So.
And how do you then steady yourself and?
You know what it
continue on?
is? It's a matter of, again, we're talking about balance. For me, I'm a yin-yang girl. There's the good, the bad, the positive, the negative, the yin-yang, and everything. So it's looking for the silver lining in the cloud. So even though this thing happened, like you said, something happened, all we can control is our response to it.
Exactly.
Or a reaction. We don't want to react. We want to respond to it. So after I've reacted, and then I realize, okay, look, there's something here. This happened for a reason, like you keep saying. What is there for me to learn from this? And what's the good out of this? What did I learn? What am I growing from here? In what ways am I changing and evolving? And then that helps me calm down.
Right.
However, first, sometimes I will beat up my punching bag because it gets the negative energy out. And then once that's dissipated, then I can, whew,
That's
okay.
what that punching bag is for.
Yes.
I think kickboxing
Yes.
or something. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, I do kickboxing as well, but usually the main use is if I have to use it to dispel it. Because I believe that we should get rid of the negative energy so it doesn't boil over, but do it in a healthy way that doesn't hurt anyone.
Right,
So
right.
that's my strategy.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, this has been great. You've brought a lot of topics to light that people can use to help balance out their lives and be more zen, as Steve keeps saying. So if people want to follow up with you, find out more, where do they go?
They can go to stephaniemulac.com or infiniteevolutioncenter.com.
And what's that Infinite Evolution Center?
That is basically the blog and the portal that a lot of the writing that I do and a lot of the techniques and tips that I give people where they can find that kind of information.
Very nice. Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thanks,
Thank
Stephanie.
you.
I'm Heather Vale Goss,
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
helping you heat up your success at hotsuccesssecrets.com.